I know that this looks or sounds very strange, and I know that a lot of people are afraid by this perspective, exactly like a lot of people were afraid by the internet and also were afraid by the World Wide Web. Nevertheless, I think that if we achieve, if we realize, if we build together this new layer, the collective intelligence will be much more powerful than it is now. So, you see, instead of uniform resource locators, and of course there will be always uniform resource locators, the web will always exist, okay? Like the internet will always exist, like the computers will always exist. I am speaking about a new layer, not something that is replacing something else, something that is adding to what currently exists. So this new layer, in this new layer, the addresses are called uniform semantic locators, as on the web they are called uniform resource locators. Okay. The semantic locators, because what I am addressing here are the concepts. It seems almost impossible. But if we were able to address precisely any new concept that we create, and if we are able to make, for example, the union of two different concepts, and if we are able to do the intersection of two different concepts, and if we are able to measure the semantic distance between different concepts, and if we create a kind of geometry that describe constellations of concepts, if we are able to generate automatically semantic circuits where we can inject a kind of semantic current that mimics or simulates the collective intelligence, you see that we can create a kind of, it's not a global brain, it's more a global mind, okay? The global brain already exists because the brain is something that is material. So we already have the material. What we are lacking is the unifying symbolic system. But it will not be like a natural language. It will be much more powerful than the natural language. Like a kind of mathematics, but not a mathematics that describe arithmetical or geometrical operations. A mathematics that describe semantic operation, the operations of the mind. So now I am going to speak about what we will get from this new addressing system. I call this computational collective intelligence. Computational because collective intelligence is something that is very, very old, that already exists in the animal realm. Ants have collective intelligence, bees have collective intelligence, pack of wolves have collective intelligence, baboons have collective intelligence, humans have collective intelligence, and of course the human collective intelligence is much more powerful than the animal collective intelligence because of the language, okay? Because we are symbol manipulators. And I prefer symbol manipulation than language, even if it's the same thing, in fact. But language can, maybe you can interpret it like it's just linguistic. But symbol manipulation extends the power of the human mind to the music, to the art, to the, I don't know, to philosophy, law, religion, and so on. Okay, it's the symbolic world created by the humankind. So this is the collective intelligence. It already exists. The goal is to augment this human collective intelligence by the use of the digital medium, by the careful and thoughtful use of the digital medium. So, first I'm going to speak about the bottom of the slide. Our cortical intelligence, or our natural intelligence, works by the dialectic between our embodied sensory motor animal intelligence, what is called here the sensory motor personal data, the implicit knowledge. So a dialectic between this kind of intelligence and the discursive intelligence, the symbol manipulation. Because, of course, the symbol manipulation, the discursive thought, does not exist without an interaction with the sensory motor intelligence. Okay? It works always together. It does not exist without the other, okay, in the human mind. So, and thanks to this dialectic between implicit and explicit knowledge, between animal and symbolic knowledge, we are able to ask questions, to dialogue, to tell stories. No animal is telling stories. No animal is going to say, in 3 weeks I am going to go back in Canada, and so on. No, it's impossible. You cannot tell a story. But we tell stories all the time. It's this way that we describe our own personal and collective identities. So it is this world of questions, because you don't ask questions if you are not conscious that you don't know something. So we know that we don't know because we use language. Okay? We dialogue, so we recognize that someone else is thinking differently than we think, and we try to understand. This is dialogue. And we tell stories. Okay, we make connections between actors and actions and circumstances, semantic connections. We tell stories. So what we have to augment is this intelligence, the intelligence that is able to recognize its own ignorance, the intelligence that is able to dialogue, the intelligence that is able to tell stories. Okay. And this intelligence, we want to augment it with what we have now and what we didn't have earlier, the digital medium. And what is the digital medium? An extraordinary power of data recording and an extraordinary computing power. And now I'm going to the digital hypercortex, what is at the upper side of the slide. What is on the web can be compared to the sensory motor opaque data. Okay, it is a hypertext but it is an opaque hypertext because the addresses of the documents have nothing to do with their meaning. That's why it's like a telephone number. Okay, it's like a geolocalization. It's not something that gives the meaning to the data. Our general way to address multimedia data in the semantic space is to use natural language. But natural language is not computable, so it cannot be used at the level of the digital medium. That's why what I see as the next step is a meta-language or a symbolic system that is fully computable and will be fit for the startup of a dialectic between implicit and explicit, a dialectic of collective intelligence at the level of the digital medium, fit for the organization of and interoperability of collective intelligence games. And this way, all the different collective intelligence games will be able to share functions, algorithms, data, metadata. And of course, the real engine of all this process of collective intelligence is the creative conversation. And as you can see on the slide, the creative conversation emerges from the cortical cognition and organizes the hypercortical cognition, and of course receives information from the hypercortical cognition and re-embody this information into the cortical cognition, and so on. It is a cycle. Okay?